Hello you, it's me. Today we're going to talk about The Long War by Terry Pratchett and Stephen Baxter, which is book 2 in the Long Earth trilogy. Check out my review up for book 1, because there will be spoilers in this one for the first book. I'll go through the plot, the general review, thoughts, stuff I liked, stuff I didn't like. I will say I was excited to read what everyone else thought of this book, because a lot of people seem to give up after book 1, so I think the reviews that I'm going to read for book 2 are from people who persisted. But yes, everything will be marked on the time bar. Here we go. The story so far. We're following the events unfolding and the progress of humanity after Step Day, when the leaked plans for a very easy-to-build machine called a stepper surfaced on the internet, allowing people to start moving east and west along an infinite line of parallel Earths. Empty, resource-rich new frontiers. We followed Lobsang, an AI who may or may not be a reincarnated Tibetan motorbike repairman, and Joshua Valiente, who can step without a box, as they left to find the boundaries of the Long Earth on this Jules Verne-esque adventure into the unknown to see how far they could get. But now it's a generation later, and the Long Earth is getting noisy. Fleets of these airships ply the skies, connecting the civilizations along the Long Earth with information and trade, trying to exert the control of an almost redundant government back on Earth number 1. Because of this noise and the encroachment of humans, the peaceful trolls who altruistically help humans are leaving, retreating to parts unknown, leaving humans to fend for themselves, and upsetting the balance of the ecosystems they're an integral part of as they just up and vanish. Joshua now lives in a place called Hell Knows Where, millions of Earths away from Earth 1, and leaves once again on a quest to bring back the trolls. Sally, his friend who can navigate the Earth in a mysterious way, hopping multiple Earths at a time, able to travel much faster than anybody else, journeys to the edge of Gap, an absent Earth and the home of the new space program, to rescue trolls that are being experimented on by people. Lobsang also recruits a new character, a priest called Nelson, to travel with him, a la book 1. To achieve his own mysterious goals. And at the same time, we follow a Chinese expedition into the Long Earth, travelling east from Datum Earth, Earth 1, the opposite direction as America, developing it in a totally different way. And their goal is to reach Earth 20 million and push the boundaries further than Lobsang and the Black Corporation. This is laid out very differently than the previous book in that it follows multiple characters and their own personal storylines, which is something I really thought was missing in the previous one. So I feel like I actually enjoyed this more. You have Joshua Valiente's story, Sally's story towards her own goal. Then you have Nelson's story following a string of clues to a mysterious end. The Chinese expedition. The themes of human expansion and mastering frontiers give these kind of a Western vibe. On the topic of the Chinese expedition, while I think it didn't tie very much into the main storyline of the book, it probably set up some stuff that's going to come back further down the line. But I think it was introduced in this book so that the slideshow feeling of the first book wasn't lost. Because that was one of the best parts of book 1. We had this constant stream of descriptions of world, and all these snippet glimpses of scenes. And that's something you really wouldn't have gotten from the other storylines in this book. There's other stuff touched on and introduced in this book, which is going to make the series richer, stuff that's super interesting. You have the introduction of other sentient races, other humanoids. You have the kobolds, a troll variant species that's very smart, very elusive, and has been plying the Long Earth for thousands of years. You have the beagles, and the exploration of a world where instead of apes evolving to be the dominant species, it was canines, creating their own society, and we get a look at how that kind of society would have developed. We also have the Gap. As Joshua and Lobsang were travelling along in book 1, they hit an Earth that wasn't there, a void in the Long Earth, a version that either never existed or was obliterated. And I love the exploration of how that opens up space travel. Instead of the fuel cost, the physical cost of launching things into orbit again and again and again to get to space, step them off the next world along into space. I love the idea of something like reusable rockets today that opens up space being something as simple as a cost reduction. With the issues in this book about what constitutes country, what constitutes citizenship, one thing this series does really well is it makes you realise how many of the rules we let dictate and govern our lives are these weird societal constructs to regulate behaviour and actually don't have much basis or make very much sense at all, like property law. There still isn't a lot in the way of plot in this book, and I think it's something that is going to let this series down in a big way for a lot of people. In all honesty, this feels more than anything like an exercise in world building, which is what I'm all about. Honestly, I'm fine with that. It's entirely my jam. Quick little spoiler bit for something I did like. I thought the title was going to be a reference to a war waging across multiple Earths, but I think the misleading and what it actually meant was amazing, with it being a reference to the long Earth being an end to the long war that has been raging for all of humanity since the start of its existence. Our history has been conflict, and now suddenly it doesn't need to be. And the revelation of that moment was like, for me. A lot of people in the reviews talk about how the title doesn't make sense because there's no war, and to them I would say, read it again, read it closer. Stuff I wasn't too keen on, or things I was thinking. I think realistically in this kind of a world build with the multiple Earths opening up, and the implications of a long Earth, religions and religious institutions would play a bigger part in the unfolding of events. There would be more questions asked about a creator, about long heaven, long hell, about this. There would be reference, I feel, to an almost missionary mindset travelling the long Earth, spreading beliefs into uncharted territory amongst savages. I know it's sci-fi, and I'm not religious myself, but I feel like it often is an important part of a world build because it's important to so many people. It would be easy to tie this kind of stuff in with Joshua Valiente because he was raised by nuns, and we have the introduction in a more concrete way of Sister Agnes now as a main character. So I hope the religious stuff gets explored a bit deeper in this series. One really good part of book one was the conversation and the interaction between Joshua and Lobsang, with a lot of interesting questions, philosophical questions asked between them. And in this book you don't really have that. Nelson kind of feels like a cheap Joshua replacement. I feel like he won't be eventually, but he does now. Joshua has settled down now with his family in hell knows where. He's deliberately distancing himself from Lobsang, cutting him out, and I'm not entirely sure why. I don't think the book has made that very clear yet. Is it just him looking for stability? Also, with the different parts of Lobsang, with him being spread over multiple Earths, being this distributed consciousness, with parts of him completely cut off from one another, will they all have the same investment in resyncing and becoming a whole again? Would these cut off bits have the ability to become independent entities? And what happens if there are conflicts between aspects of Lobsang? So hopefully that will be something touched on as well, because I think the exploration of how a distributed consciousness would work would be very interesting for me. So I'm going to give this one 4 stars, even though I did enjoy it slightly less than the first one, but Goodreads doesn't let you do half points yet. So thanks for tuning in for this review. If you like sci-fi, join our sci-fi Discord, the Interstellar Book Club, which I'll link down below. Also follow me on Twitter and Goodreads, which I'll also link down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more reviews. Coming thick and quick, I read pretty fast. So thanks for watching again, and I'll see you next time for the next review. Bye.